How do you build an effective spiritual memory? You do it through building up habits of memorial and through frequently returning to the object of those habits. This is Eric Slay with DW Pen Guy, and this is the Bible Commentary. As always, if you liked what you're seeing, I would ask that you hit like and subscribe in order to help the channel grow. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Word. So, for today, we're going to look at Joshua chapter 4, verses 21 and 22. And they say, "And he said to the people of Israel, when your children ask their fathers in time to come, 'What do these stones mean?' Then you shall let your children know, Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground." So, how do you build up an effective spiritual memory? Here, it appears that you have memorials or remembrances of what God has done in the past. Now, I'm not going to give specific examples of this because I don't feel that that's terribly profitable. I find it to be most effective to just lay out scriptural principles and allow those who are watching it to make the application. But I think it's good to come back to what I believe I've already covered are several New Testament examples of this: the communion supper and the act of water baptism, both of which are memorials to spiritual life and death with Christ. Baptism is a one-time thing, which symbolizes the reality of a believer being buried and raised with Christ. On that day, you remember it, and with baptism, that's pretty much it. But the Lord's Supper is an ongoing thing, where Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me," so that every time you partake of the communion, you remember what Christ did. It's a memorial meal, just like these were memorial stones. And the regular practice of this obviously helps to bring into focus that proper emphasis or that proper remembrance. Now, one can also imagine the idea of having some sort of even production or anything that people would pass by or see, or anything that cause them to inquire as to what's going on here and what this thing represents. Since the gospel itself is bringing forth the remembrance of Christ's sacrifice, there's a sense in which every person who presents the gospel is, quote-unquote, a memorial stone. That's another way in which it happens. So again, this could take all sorts of different forms. Spiritual memory is something that we should build up habits with. And it should be something that is structured in such a way that it simply grabs your attention like this. Again, I'm not going to necessarily go too far into figuring out exactly what this would look like. For every individual person, it's going to look different. A time of the year, a regular consideration every week, talking to friends or family about what God has done. It could take all sorts of different forms. But everyone who is a believer in Christ should do this. Now, the quote-unquote testimonial, which is so popular in many churches, can be a form of this if it's done right. But more generally speaking, this is just an encouragement to have that kind of spiritual memory that is ever present in your life. And so if you have no spiritual memory at all of anything God has done for you because you don't know God, I would encourage you to consider today the claims of the gospel. And so until next time, this is Eric Slawick, the UWM Pen Guy, and this has been the Bible Commentary.